Peter Sims, author of Little Bets, and I'm also an entrepreneur, co-founder of a new social venture called FuseCore. Little Bet is just a small, affordable action that anyone can take to discover and develop their ideas. So, for example, when Chris Rock is developing new material for a comedy routine, he doesn't know what's going to work or what's not until he goes into small clubs and tries lots of little experiments to see where the opportunities are going to be through a process. So he doesn't begin with a brilliant idea, he discovers it through a process. That's what the book is about. Well, it's the only way to start a small business is to make little bets. I mean, I used to work in venture capital where I worked with approximately 1,000 entrepreneurs a year, and I saw them start businesses from scratch. They were bootstrapped businesses, and they would go out and they would spend time trying to understand problems and opportunities by getting what Muhammad Yunus calls the bird's eye. They go get the worm's eye view. They try to observe and understand problems from the ground level, acting like anthropologists. When they found interesting opportunities, they'd make small experiments to see if they were onto something. And then once they were able to make money on something and have that validated, they would keep building and building and building through lots of small wins. So you start small and you discover big through a process. Well, what he does is he lives in New Jersey, and he'll go to small comedy clubs in New Jersey or in New York, and he will scribble ideas down on pieces of paper, but he won't think too much about it. He'll just scribble them down on pieces of paper. He'll go into these small clubs, he'll try ideas one after the other, after the other, after the other, and most of them will fail. Most of them will bomb. They won't produce laughter, and there are a lot of moments where it's awkward. You know, it's uncomfortable. He's failing. You know, it's not easy even for Chris Rock, but the reason he does that is because it's only an audience of 50, 60 people. So what's the worst that can happen? It's an affordable loss. So this is a really important principle.
Right, yeah.
We think so much about having a big idea and having a plan that we forget. It's really about discovery, and creativity is really about what can we afford to lose so that we can learn through a process what's going to be cool. Is to be able to make lots of little bets. So little bets are just small actions that you take to see what works and what doesn't. And so you have to the writers for The Onion say that it takes them something like 100 possibilities to come up with 18 headlines. So you see The Onion, they've got very funny headlines. It takes them, they have a 3% success rate. And comedians say it's roughly the same. And if you look at, you know, on the corporate side, if you look at how Hewlett-Packard innovated for many years, it was a very similar approach where Bill Hewlett believed very strongly in small bets. So they would go out and try a lot of things, and Bill Hewlett would say, but you know, it would take roughly 100 small bets to come up with 6 big breakthrough ideas. So you got to be willing to put yourself out there. You got to be willing to not be perfect a lot, and through this iterative process, find little pieces of learning, little pieces of what I call them small wins that you build on and build on and build on until finally you build up and you see something that's quite beautiful. It's quite unique. It's quite innovative. But it's only happens if you use a process. I'm an accidental author. I never expected to write a book in the first place. I'm more of an entrepreneur.
I see.
And so I hope to be able to take this book and take it to the corporate world and have it make an impact, which I do through speaking and advisory work, and to take it to the government world, which I'm working on with an organization that I mentioned, co-founded. It's called FuseCore, which is bottom-up innovation by trying to enlist some of the nation's top entrepreneurial leaders in solving problems in the trenches, working for mayors, working for governors, but actually working in the trenches, on the ground. And then the third piece is education reform, which we badly need, and which Tony Bates and I from Skype were talking a lot about today, and how can we work with people who have insight on how to nurture creativity and bring that into our educational system, whether it's the K through 12 level or the management thinking level. We need to change. The world is far too complex for this industrial mindset that we have, whether it's our education system or the industrial management system. And so that's what I do. I do those 3 things: corporate, government, and education. And yeah, it's an adventure. Absolutely, 100%. I'm very fortunate to be able to wake up in the mornings now and feel really inspired to be learning. But you know, for many years I was going to work not inspired, and so I had a brief moment of realization when I was working in venture capital. I loved the people I worked with, I loved the work intellectually, but you know, I was living in one of the nicest neighborhoods of London, and I had made a lot of money for my age, and I was dating a beautiful French woman, and I kind of had it all. I was successful on society's terms, but I just felt, a lack of meaning. And so I basically tried to discover through time, through experiences, by following my curiosity, what I was all about, and it was very hard. I had many setbacks, and it's hard for me to even talk about it because it's emotional. It's not just intellectual; it's your whole body has to go through these things. So yeah, now I'm very fortunate to have had come through a lot of what I call dark valleys or crucibles, and so it's nice to be on the other side of those, but there'll be more.
Well, that's how you learn, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how you learn. That's how you really learn.
Yeah, Peter, thank you very much for your time.